Hey Chelsea, this is awesome. I see you're fighting that good fight. I love the changes that I see in this, um, and I think it's working strong. I'm gonna give you notes and stuff, but these are just take them or leave them. Um, but I feel like I think I mentioned this last time. I like I feel like I want to see the lean kind of happen first before I see the center of gravity travel to the right. You know what I mean? Like here, it's like the character is totally straight up and down, and the center of gravity is moving, but I'm not seeing like the lean. So I kind of expect to see the upper torso to lean before I see the center of gravity move at all. Um, you know what I mean? To kind of like start to throw it forward. Like here, this I feel like is exactly what I'm talking about. Like this works. That's kind of what I expect to see more. You know what I mean? So there's just this weird move in the beginning, and I don't know, I don't know that you need this, whatever's happening. So you may be able to go like right from this pose here into this kind of idea where they're leaning forward and starting to throw their weight forward over their feet to start to get into this anticipatory running pose, which I love. I think this is a strong pose. Maybe I would just rotate your pelvis ever so slightly to bring this hip joint forward more and bring the blue hip joint back just a little bit. It doesn't have to be to an extreme. Another thing I want you to keep an eye on is there's not a lot of resolution to work with here, but this spacing jump from here to here feels pretty big, and then it goes kind of even. So what I would suggest here is to have a smaller, just really pay attention to how this is going, and maybe from here you can drop down a little bit on the center of gravity, so that during this part maybe you raise up a little bit. And I'm saying maybe because I don't know, but just a hair, but then it gives you a place to like drop down into this from. So maybe like this frame is your highest, and I'm not talking about huge movements up and down, but maybe just a little something, you know. But then this anticipation is great. I'm really feeling this. I know you're having him go back a little bit with this. I understand the thought process behind that, and I think it's good as far as the anticipation kind of thought process, but I feel like because we've already started like going forward and the audience is like prepped for what we're going to show them, I think you can probably just, I like going down, like I can see that you're bringing it down, but I would kind of bring it down and forward at this point. I think I would lose that backwards movement, and yeah. So here it's in your reference where the actor that you have in this thing, so this first step is like a tiny step for him. You know, like that screen right foot just goes forward, not to any kind of like full-legged thing like you have here. But I like the full-legged thing. But what I feel like I'm missing is like more of a straight leg out of this red thing. I don't, you know what I mean? So maybe that foot's coming forward or rolling up a little too quickly. Maybe if there's any way that you can get this leg a little bit straighter at the beginning of this run, I think that it's going to help. Okay, cool. I think on your passing pose, if you're getting into a run, it's okay to, like, in the walk, I kept saying that we were not going to pick the foot up much. But I think on a run, it's okay to pick the foot up more. It'll look more dynamic and a little bit better to have this foot more like picked up in the air. And maybe here, pull that up just a tiny bit so we get just a little bit of a bend in that leg. I'm having trouble justifying that intellectually in my mind, but I don't know. I'm going to stick with it. But all this stuff looks great. Like maybe you can get a little bit more extreme in some of these arm poses. Not extreme, but just maybe we can clear the leg with this hand ever so slightly on some of these poses, just by like bringing it forward a little bit more, just to clear the silhouette. And here it feels like the hand's just spending a lot of time in the same position. You know what I mean? And maybe the hands are stepped on different keys than the legs are, which is fine. But just make sure that we're getting change. If that means you need to bring it forward more in order to have it swing back more, that's great. Don't neglect like the rotation of your torso and pelvis. In here, like here with this leg forward, always make sure to bring this side of the pelvis forward so we can see a little bit more of the back side, like open up the pelvis. And then you kind of want to like rotate the top chest controller in the opposite direction to kind of like open up the shoulders, in opposition of what's happening with the hips, so as the hips open this way, the shoulders go the other way, that kind of thing, because I'm not seeing like a lot of twisting out of the torso. Okay, and then just watch like your spacing on your feet. I like this pose a lot, but the spacing here feels kind of like, I don't know, slow. So maybe push this one to be closer to this one, and like favor the extremes, the extremes a little bit more. So maybe this one can be pushed a little bit further along. I don't know. These are little things. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, like push the arm swing a little bit more to get it clear of silhouette. Rotate the torso, rotate the pelvis. Start layering that stuff in. The anticipation for this jump looks good. This is a nice opportunity here to like get some contrast in your torso shape. Maybe this isn't the shape that you necessarily want to hit, but it's a good opportunity to kind of like get some coil, like maybe they're leaned over more like this or something, so that when they spring, you can kind of try to hit an opposite C shape, and you can try to reinforce that with the leg. Really try to like design these poses, and maybe we can get this one up, like push this stuff to be dynamic, because when I feel like your character's flying through the air, we need to get as superhero-y as we can. You know what I mean? And so these poses are going to be lasting impression poses. So rotate the hips here, rotate the shoulders back there. That way you can get like good clear of the silhouettes. Here, maybe this wants to be up like this, I don't know. But get it to be kind of like extreme. This is like push these poses when I say extreme. Push them to try to get something like really dynamic and changing as they go through the air, you know what I mean? So like here, maybe this foot needs to be rotated down a little bit to start, and then towards the end that foot's like rotated up, and then before the landing, you can probably straighten out this leg, have the foot in a place to catch the character. Again, support all this with pelvis and torso twisting and all that. Maybe this foot can be brought up a little bit more, to something a little more pushed. So think about how you can push these poses. Yeah, cool. One of the things I would do is push your wall prop piece over this way. So instead of having the foot land on this edge, have it land more near like this edge, so it looks like they just barely made the jump. It's kind of like a narrative tension thing. You can even shrink the width of the wall if that helps getting this part down better. Yeah, but otherwise, great progress. I really, where'd it go? Great progress. I really like how this is coming along. Yeah, just layer in some torso rotation. Maybe clean up that beginning part. I'm not sure it's like worth your time and efforts to have like that little double beat in there. You know, it should just be one move to get into this ready pose. And this could even be fast if you want. It's not bad at the pace you have it, but it could also be like really snappy. Like, dunk, like I'm ready. You snap into action pose. But yeah, everything seems cool. I think as you run, you may want to have a little less. I don't know if that's true or not. There's something about the up and down that's catching my eye through this stuff where it feels, I don't know if it feels even in the height that you achieve. So maybe it starts off, I know I said it was done, but maybe it starts off a little more bouncy and then it gets a little less bouncy as the run starts. That kind of feels right to me. So maybe just vary the TY, you know, and the extreme of that as the run up happens. But that's pretty nitpicky, and maybe it's just because that's in stepped, and once we get in spline, we can like really narrow in on that kind of thing. But yeah, good work. It's a lot of work. Thank you for your efforts, and keep it up. All right.